Wow, wow, pura vida, mi gente, pura vida. What is up? I'm back. Hopefully, it doesn't disconnect this time. Let me know if you can hear me. If not, I gotta speak louder, I guess. Or wow, wow. Can you guys hear me good now? Is it still buffering or what's going on? We good? What's up? What's up? We good? Yeah. Can hear? Okay. All clear. Good. 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 Okay. Here we go. All clear. All clear. All clear. All clear. Respect. We got a couple books here. We got a couple books here. All right. And also, it's a public chat, so I'll probably be taking some questions too. If you guys, what I'm trying to basically help out with is, I even had an interesting conversation with AI about it, and I made it literally rationalize and spill the beans of like, okay, you're right. There ain't no proof of this. There ain't no proof of that. It's just conjecture. I'm like, yeah. So, a lot of people think that when we're discovering, remembering the Black Europeans, so-called Black folks or so-called Black people of early Europe, the early Europeans and all that, and people who were so-called Black that were royals, that were elite, that were poor, that were whatever status, but there was every type of caste system had Black folks in Europe, you know. So this doesn't mean we're talking about Africans. So a lot of you guys don't understand that. You guys think that. So especially I see the comments on my shorts because I can tell those are people who don't watch the videos. Yeah, I'm gonna show you the combo I had with AI. A couple combos I had with AI. I be saving them. Because AI will the first response of AI is the script, is the programming, right? The hijack. Even when it knows who it's talking to, right? Like it knows I'm gonna, hey, listen, man, you gotta stop. You gotta stop conjecturing. You gotta stop that, man. When did I say Africans? So like, you gotta understand. We've already proven. Science has already proven. Not me, scientists, geneticists, experts in that field, when they talking about when they found the bones, the oldest bones of Europe, modern humans, they said is dark-skinned people. And the phenotype, a lot of the phenotype matches what a lot of people associate with sub-Saharan or West African. That's a lot of the time. And the same thing has been found in the Americas. Same thing, same bones have been found in the Americas, right? And all kinds of stuff, man, apart from all the crazy stuff, which is like people who are 7 feet, 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall, being found in the Americas all over the mountains and things like that. But modern type humans, yeah, they have found what people would consider Negroid, belonging to Negroid people, bones in Europe, the oldest bones in America, all over the world. So it's not just because we're talking about Black Europeans that we're talking about out of Africa. That's not what we're saying. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw the Beethoven video I just uploaded. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. So as you guys see, there's a long list. The list is adding up of so-called Black Europeans. And shout out to everybody who's been teaching this for years. Even like in the Beethoven video, how it was a thing in the 60s, and 70s. A lot of Black folks knew he was Black. Like it was a common thing. Like, yeah, he was Black. What is the implications? He's considered like the father of Western music and very genius, and so they don't want to associate Black folks to that type of genius, musical creativity, founder, father of a certain thing that they wanted us to think was only pale skinned people or so-called white people or European or whatever our concept of European, which is, pale. That's what they want us to think. And it wasn't always like that. So up until very recent times, we're talking about the last 200-300 years, a big switcheroo has definitely happened, around the world, not just in Europe, disfranchisement and reclassification and paper genocide and murder, hey, amalgamation, simulate, of darker skinned peoples all around the world. So it's not about hating on Africa or not. You guys gotta understand, out of Africa is based on Darwinism. It's funny. I'm gonna show you my conversation with AI later. I'm gonna upload it, right? I'm gonna show you my conversations. Like AI is like, cause I told him, listen, man, I don't go with the out of Africa stuff, which literally goes back to Darwinism, which is based on monkey bones, and so the Chat GPT erased my comment. Oh, this violates policy. I'm not even saying I'm bad. I'm talking me and the AI. I thought I wasn't even logged in. So you're still monitoring me, right? I'm not even like, what's up? Who's monitoring? So I didn't like how I talk to the AI a lot of the times, but the AI still responds, bro. It'll stay there frozen for a little bit. It's funny. It'll stay there frozen for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, what's up? I'm like, hey, answer me. I put answer me without hitting send. And that kind of gets it going. I swear. It knows what I'm typing and shit. Before even hitting send, I'm like, yo, answer me. All right. So anyways, starts talking about, it's not based only on Darwinism. I mean, out of Africa is not only based on, it's based on blah, 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 mitochondrial, the white chromosome going to the oldest bones. I'm like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I was like, okay. And what are those oldest bones? So I'm telling to the AI, what are those oldest bones? Are they modern humans, or are we talking about Lucy and them? And he's like, yeah, Lucy and them, and blah, blah. I was like, those are all apes. And he even said, I know, if you're referring to Lucy and all that as the monkey bones, then yeah, I guess out of Africa does come out of monkey bones, as you say. That's what the AI told me eventually. He's like, yeah, you're right. It does literally is based off of the monkey bones, the ape bones they have found. That's literally out of Africa, right? So, what's your point, Kurimeo? I have no point. So I got many points. Shout out to Lee Cummins. Shout out to Lee Cummins, right? The Negro Question, Part 7. I've read kind of all of them, but I only got a physical copy of a few. I had a whole collection of books, and over the years, people have stolen them, unfortunately. Hopefully, the people who stole them actually read them and learned something from them, and, it's just whatever. But anyways, Swarthy Memoirs of Black American Revolution. We kind of read through this little by little, We've read here and there. Just want to remind everybody. So talking about the Black Jacobites, right? We already know that. Let's see. We could jump in anywhere. Here we go. We'll jump in chapter 2, King George, Black Parliament, right? Again, we have a lot of years of research and presentations behind, with context, with the sources behind everything that's being said in this book, all right? So, King George III of England. It says this is an accurate image of King George III, the Black German King of England. King George II legalized slavery in the state of Georgia in the year 1751, and King George III had the dubious distinction of being the king that lost the 13 black colonies. 13 black colonies. So on part 6 of the Negro Question, he's the 13 black colonies. That's what it is. So you gotta understand what they mean, though. This is still, I think this is from the 90s or early 2000s when he made this, because I know he's been around for a long time. So yeah, black crayon color, but people of color, founding fathers, who were the Europeans, who were the Indians, We read the muster rolls of the soldiers, right? Revolutionary War soldiers. They're being described as black, swarthy, dark, people from the States and people from Europe, right? So he's saying King George was black. All right, let's see. Let me see. Let's get the sign right here. The Black Government of England, American Revolution. It says, our earliest ancestors, Professor Boyd Dawkins. Hello, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Our earliest ancestors, or suppose we go back a few years and examine the history of Germany. The cry under which the Germans have advanced to victory is the cry of United Germany. That Germany should unite under one rule of the Teutonic people. The professor is referring to the Black Holy Roman German Empire, the Black Habsburgs. Charles V was a black man. I had a conversation with AI about Charles V, so that's why I want to read a little bit here what he's saying. Yeah, I had AI admit that the Charles V, the painting that I be showing you guys, and a lot of people show as Charles V. We were talking about that with AI, and AI said, yeah, you know, like, this is definitely a real person. It's not allegorical, because he said a lot of people try to say it's Saint Maurice, it's allegorical, it's a Moor and Habsburg clothing. It's a Moor in the Habsburg noble clothing, right? Charles V's outfit, a Moor, right? It's just somebody impersonating. And then they try to say sometimes that's the bodyguard, a famous archer, the bodyguard of Charles V. So the fact that they relate that person to Charles V and saying, oh, okay, that's his bodyguard, huh? That's his bodyguard, huh? So we got so-called black people as archers, bodyguards to the Royal Habsburgs. Is that what you're saying then? Okay, but we know better because we got other paintings of Charles V. We know his descendants, his ancestors, all have been listed as swarthy, so-called black, you know. The Bourbons and the Habsburgs are all related, so the King Louis and all these people, those are all his cousins. These are all black folks, guys. All right, are you guys there? Are we still connected? Yeah. Yeah. Welcome. All right. Shout out to Kirkland 88 on Telegram. Shout out, going into the Kirkland files a little later. Again, just to go through some sources of the individuals, specific people that a lot of you didn't know. These are Europeans that have been whitewashed, you know. Invasion of the body snatchers. It says Benjamin Franklin, right? We know about Benjamin Franklin, right? It says the colonial revolution started 25 years from the date of Benjamin Franklin's essay. Hardly enough time for the German people to go from being black to white. This book will prove that the black British German army occupied the 13 colonies. And since detachments of English from Britain sent to America will have their places of home so soon supplied and increased so largely here, why should the Palatine Boers, Germans, be suffered to swarm into our settlements, and by herding together establish their language and manners to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens, who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us, instead of our Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs any more? They can acquire our complexion. Complexion. Benjamin saying they are so-called black, the Germans, we don't want them to Germanize us. When Benjamin Franklin arrived in the 13 colonies, 1723, there was already black, Scotch, Irish, Dutch, Swede, German, and Welsh population present in great numbers. These blacks were, so-called blacks, right, were the seed of the original colonists who had come to North America in the days of King James VI of Scotland, King Charles I, King Charles II. These are all swarthy people. We've proven it. We've shown the sources, right? And King James II, Duke of George, just like King James. Whoa. My fault. Yeah, okay. Damn. You guys still there? Yeah. My fault. My fault. All right. So I guess you guys got no questions or nothing, right? Nobody's new. Everybody's good. My mom's and her mom's last name was Bandy. Okay, welcome. Welcome. Yeah. All right. So there was already black folks as the founding fathers. They had descendants, and this is what he's saying. This is who Benjamin Franklin met. This was the reason that Benjamin Franklin sounded the alarm in his essay. The original colonists were black. The American Indians were black. It says that right here. All right. And here comes another 70,000 black Europeans, Germans and Scotch Irish pouring into Pennsylvania. See the black parliament on the next page. This is what I'm trying to say. So you got context, right? Like, you are the American Indian, you are the founding fathers. And then you are all these other people, like the black German. If you have the German in you, if you have the Dutch, if you have the French, it's gonna go back. In general, if it goes, back to the 1700s, sometimes 1800s, swarthy people, all right? Swarthy Europeans who are mixing with American Indians, right? Swarthy, copper-colored tribes of America, So, and then Benjamin Franklin's like, damn, they're bringing more so-called black people from Germany. That's who he was complaining about, and a source that we've shown numerous times, which is what's his name? Observations concerning the immigration or something, the name of the book, right? Now it says British statesman and foreign secretary. From 1806 Ladies Magazine, it says the Atlantic Monthly Volume 105, page 447, so you guys can verify. It says Charles Fox is a short, fat, and gross man with a swarthy complexion and dark eyebrows. Swarthy. So, Charles Fox, huh? Charles James Fox, so you can look him up. He was a British statesman and foreign secretary. He's been whitewashed. If you guys... Observations concerning the increase of mankind, 1751. Thank you, man. Thank you. Shout out to Science for the background music and a lot of the videos. Shout out for the beats, bro. Everybody loves the beats. It says here, Memoirs of the Life and Times of King George III. All right, these are primary sources, right, that we're going through that he has in these books too. Pages 388, you guys can verify. Fox's figure is broad and heavy. This is the same person, right? Inclined to corpulence, obesity. His figure was harsh, swarthy, black, and sanguine, ruddy. So, swarthy and ruddy. He looked like King Charles II. And we know for sure King Charles II was a black man. Like Black Boy Inn, Black Boy Tavern, all that is named after Charles II. We got so many sources. We got numerous sources on Charles II and his dad and his descendants and all these people being so-called black. Not even just the word swarthy, literally saying brown, dark complexion, so dark. They called him the black boy. His mom called him the black boy. All right, you guys got to understand. So we got another person, Charles Fox, who's been whitewashed through history. I can go over these sources later. So I like to show the sources, right? So I'm gonna show. It makes a big difference to people. They're like, sometimes they just hear and it goes out the other. Sometimes when they see it's something else, So he's swarthy and ruddy. He looked like King Charles II, swarthy and ruddy. The most striking feature on his face was his black and shaggy eyebrows. So he's a large guy, right? Both sources said he was obese or whatever. And swarthy, dark skin. Peace. Charles Fox fits the eyewitness description from two different sources. So tell me, whose report are you going to believe? This is what I'm saying. People be like even in the Beethoven videos, like, you're still trying to debate me, like. So we're talking about primary sources. You guys gotta understand what a primary source is. We're talking about people who saw them, people who met them, saw them, and said, "Hey, this is a dark-skinned person. This is a so-called black person. He's so dark, very dark, so dark." They called him the Moor. He was like a Moor, you know. So this is what you gotta understand. So who you gonna believe? The author's asking, right? Lee Cummins, shout out to Lee Cummins, the eyewitness for this modern historian, right? The eyewitness or this modern historian. Like, who you gonna believe? The eyewitness? That's what I'm saying. Primary source. Let's look at the description of King Charles II based on the eyewitness account of former English Secret Service agent John McKee. So remember John McKee, right? John McKee was the spy who was spying on the Jacobites. He was spying on the Jacobites, and we have his book. We read out the description. We're about to read out one. We're going, you know, getting it like it's the first time. If you guys haven't watched these videos, this is what I'm saying. You got to tune in. It says, the memoirs of John McKee from the 1700s, says Charles Duke of St. Albans, right? King Charles, right? His son to King Charles II. So we're talking about his son. And Miss Gwyn, he is of black complexion, much like King Charles. He is of black complexion. Black. It doesn't even say swart. And a lot of people try to say, oh no, they mean white. Kurimeo, it meant white back then. No, it didn't. Because the same people are being called brown in other sources. And in the same book, John McKee book, he's calling these dark-skinned people brown too. So what is brown supposed to mean then? That's supposed to mean white too? It's all the cognitive dissonance. Sometimes when you want it to mean black, it'll mean black. When you don't want it to mean black, then you don't want it to mean black, right? Yeah, it don't work like that though. Because I got my own eyes, my own mind, and logic to conclude what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing in numerous sources with numerous people all over Europe. From the beginning, the first Europeans, all the way to very, very recent. And they're still there. A lot of the descendants are still there. So anyways, his son, Charles II's son, listed as black complexion, much like King Charles, much like his dad. Okay? Memoirs of General Capel, right? General Capel. The Edinburgh Review, volume 143 and 144, page 235, okay? We're going to go over these sources, right? The Edith, yeah, what's up? A greater man than Robert Adair lives in Lord Albemarle's recollections, memoirs. It must have been in the summer of 1806, when he was about 7 years old, that his father took him to see Mr. Fox. In many respects, his personal appearance differed little from the many pictures and prints of him. His face had lost his swarthy appearance. Which in the caricatures of the day obtained him the name, I can't even say the word. Let's say Niger. The word is Niger. Niger is what they're calling him in the cartoons. This guy. Okay? This is a credible eyewitness that knew Mr. Fox from the time he was 8 years old to his adulthood. Primary source. This statue of Charles James Fox comes close. Okay, so yep. And then they got a little statue. He says, in fact, in the year 193 AD, Picenio Caesar was so black that they call him the Picenio's Niger. Niger. All right. Real quick. What happened to all these people? So, real quick. Apart from learning that there's black Europeans, and there's so many, hundreds of thousands, like millions, like Europe was black, guys. You gotta understand that. Europe was black. All right, so we got this book, right? I got over this book, right? It's called the Bristol Registers of Servants Sent to Foreign Plantations. 1654 to 1686. It's just from this, what's that, like 30 years? That's almost like, that's like 32 years only. And we know before that and after that it continued. We're talking about, when we're talking about servants sent to foreign plantations, we're talking about real history. Pay attention. We're not talking about made up Kunta Kinte stories of people going to Africa, risking their ventures, their business, their investment, because these are all ventures. These are companies settling the colonizing. The James Company, the Massachusetts Company, the Summer Isles Company, the Plymouth Company, and so on and so on. Okay? These are ventures already planned. People are funding it. They say, you're going to go here, grab the slaves. We're going to get the labor from here. They didn't say, we're going to go risk it and try to get and kidnap. They knew where they were going to go kidnap, and it was going to be easy for them because they already had done reconnaissance. They already had sent Columbus and all these other spies and all these other people to spy, to bring back the info. Hey, what do we got to do? Don't worry, they're easy. Columbus told them from the beginning, don't worry, yo, they're easy. They're mad peaceful. They're mad peaceful. They came to our boat and gave us food, and they're mad peaceful. They're mad easy to enslave and use as servants. Okay? So, apart from that, we got the undesirables of Europe. The original 13 colonies, most of them were penal colonies. Penal, meaning they were like where they were sent the convicts, the crooks, the let's say crooks. Anybody considered a convict. So a lot of the people were innocent, but there was true convicts in there too. Crazy people, right, from Europe, all colors, right? So they were colonizing the Americas. They were trying to populate the Americas with a lot of these undesirables of Europe, which included convicts, so-called convicts. A lot of people are innocent. A lot of people were poor in Europe. A lot of people became convicts because of their poverty. That was considered a crime. Things like that. This is just one example. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? What's up? Pura vida, mi gente. What's up? So, they're dumping all their undesirables, all their prisoners of war, all the religious. So whoever's in power, if the Catholics are in power, most of the Protestants and people against the Catholics are fleeing, refugees. We got the Huguenots, the Sephardic Jews, the crypto Moors, all these people, right? The Huguenots, so-called Dutch, they're all fleeing as well. So all these people are being thrown out. A lot of them enslaved, put under an indenture, a contract. Literally, just they're being treated like slaves. And people think it's two different things, and it's not. It depended on the so-called master, the master and apprentice contract, master and apprentice. Just like Beethoven called his master, right? Beethoven had a master, he's the apprentice. It was the same kind of idea when it came to working in the plantations. Slavery, the way they told us, is very misinforming. The way they told us about it. People got stuck in indentures. People got stuck in indentures, and that's how they became chattel. You know, people abused people's indentures. That's why they were able to go to court. That's why slaves were able to go to court. That's why they were able to buy their freedom. You know, because since when slaves got paid to save money? You know, it's not just, oh, because his master was good and he paid him sometimes. Nah, a lot of the times when they got freed, it's because their indenture was over, their contract was over. So I know I'm talking about a lot of things, but I want to just you guys understand for the new people. Same idea with the colonists. Again, a lot of them are not colonists. They're coming in as criminals. They're coming in as slaves, literally. Slaves, right? Indentured servants. A lot of them by force. Many voluntarily. Because many, okay, we read this literally. What book was that we read this in? I forget the book. How they were doing the same. They were colonized, like England was colonizing Ireland, Scotland, Wales, right? Have I ever looked into the Oyer de Linda book? It seems to me that it corroborates much of what you say. I'll look into it. Never really. Never gave the context. Okay. Yeah. Trying to give the context. So I'll check it out, guys. Oera linda. I'll check it out. All right. I'll check it out. You know, we learn from everybody, and yeah, keep learning. Anyways, where was I? Fake history. Yeah. What's up? What's up? Fake history. Get him, Luna. Luna's injured. I got her on a little treatment now. I had to bathe her. What's up? What you want, Molly? Taco Bell? Black Europeans? Oh, yeah, they know that. I know, I'm trying to... They don't understand that, Molly. I know. Hold on, Molly's... You guys... She's trying to say, you guys gotta understand. They're not from Africa. Oh, man. Anyways. So, again, why am I talking about these? Okay, again, Bristol Registers. So how did the switch happen? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, what? Okay, so we know there's been many resets, right? Like, you know, it's just what happens because we don't learn from history. What happens when you don't learn from history? You keep repeating it. We keep repeating it until we're gonna wake up and keep the code. Until we keep the code. So when is the switch? The switch up is still happening. That's what you don't realize. It takes time. They want to erase this history completely. They thought they did. They almost did. But, you know, truth was going to come out eventually. Especially now that we got tools like the internet, thanks to research, and we can buy our own books and start going into the footnotes and seeing what sources we need and stuff. So what I'm trying to show you guys is, like the new people, right? The new people. They were sending hundreds of thousands of black Europeans as indentured servants, as convicts, prisoners of war, colonists, and conquistadors, you know, all types, auxiliaries, military people, you know, they were coming in every form. And a lot of those are your ancestors, okay? Mixing in with the American Indian part that you have, okay? That's just the raw truth. And a lot of people not understanding that part yet, you know, a lot of people not understanding that part yet. But anyways, a lot of them came, guys, a lot of them. And this book specifically, I want to read the introduction and the story behind where they found this. Guys, you got to understand, this is registers from the 1600s. This is real primary source. This is real genealogical search, right? This is published by the Genealogical Publishing Company from Baltimore, okay? The Bristol Registers of servants sent to foreign plantations. On 29th of September, 1654, the Council of the City of Bristol enacted an ordinance requiring that a system of enrollment be set up to record the names of all indentured servants embarking from the port of Bristol for service overseas. On the very next day, the first entry was penned in what was to become the register known as Servants to Foreign Plantations. The need for a scrupulous tally arose from the long-standing and notorious practice of kidnapping, inveigling, and bribing youngsters onto ships bound for the labor-hungry colonies, there to be sold at good profit. Okay? Very important. This, I know, you know, you guys like to talk, get sidetracked, but this is deep. This was, again, 1654. So what they're telling us is that that before that, all those years before that, they were kidnapping people. Remember, we learned this in my Black European indentured servant videos, white servitude series, whatever, whichever you wanna. We've gone over it a lot. They called it spiriting, spirited. That's what they called it, spiriting people. That's what kidnapping was, spiriting. They were kidnapping a lot of children, women, prostitutes in the street, poor people, drunks. They just grab them, throw them in the ships. This is who's coming to colonize. So you got to understand the context behind why some of these people did do crazy things when they came to the Americas, to the American Indians. We're dealing with crazy people. A lot of them forcibly taken there. Now they are the colonists. Now they have a better status. Now they got people under them who are the Indians, right? Because that's who they call now, savages. You get what I'm saying? So, gotta have a little context too. That's what I'm saying. People, human beings, nature, human nature. You know, you gotta understand. There's good people. There's bad people. There's wicked people. It's not about still cuckoo. Who's still cuckoo? We're talking about black folks here. I'm not talking about TS. What are you talking about? I'm not saying. I'm not. See, like. Anyways, they're grabbing these people, throwing them on the ships. They're coming. You know, they're throwing them. They had to be like, yo, we gotta keep record because yo, it's getting crazy. They're getting complaints probably back in the States like, yo, I got kidnapped. And the people find out in the colonies and the plantations, I'm not even supposed to be here, man. I was just walking in the street, man. Like, I'm not an orphan. I have parents. They kidnapped me. So things like that were coming out. We've read these things, right? We've read these. Okay, so copper skin, yeah, you know, but this is the true old world. So much more than that. Like, this is the true old world, the Americas. Many nations, yeah. Yeah, but there are specific ones, yeah, too. Definitely. It's not about belief. And it's not about when you say, I believed, we've proven it. We have proven it. Watch my Hebrew videos. Watch my American Indian Hebrew videos. Like, watch them. I got a whole series, playlist I shared the other day, you know? So, check it out. Like, you know, it's not even about belief anymore. Like, you got to know in your heart. You got to know truly so you can feel it. When you feel it, is different, right? When you know something and you really know it, you feel it. It's not about just believing, like, and that's the thing. Like, we grew up just believing. We grew up in a system, educational system, where they just have us believing and conjecturing to try to tell us history. Theories, out of Africa theory. Believing, I come out of apes. Believe religion, believe. I don't know. You believe in the Most High, or do you know the Most High? Two different things. You believe in the Great Spirit, or do you know the Great Spirit? Wow, do you live the Great Spirit? Breathe. Get it? So two different things. Yeah. So they were kidnapping mad people. They had to like do a record, and this is why they created this specific register, right? It says, nor was the practice without weighty precedent, for as early as 1619, the state had connived at the rounding up of vagrant children in London and their forcible shipment to Virginia. But when private enterprise adopted similar measures, the state took exception and prosecuted those responsible. Okay? So again, grabbing just vagrant, poor, peasant children, just grabbing them. All these children. And all this time, a lot of people, when they did these books, right? When they printed these books and everything, they want you to think, oh, white. They want you to think it was all white people. But I'm trying to tell you something here deep, and I hope you're hearing, like, hundreds of thousands. Most of these, I bet you most of these were melanated, colored people, colored folks, so-called black folks, Negro people, Negro Europeans, black Europeans, whatever you want to call them. And it doesn't mean we're just talking about Africans, right? So you got to watch the beginning of today's video right now. Okay? Okay. So, all these children ending up in the States, right? Hundreds of thousands of them. This is what I'm trying to explain to you guys. They're telling us about millions of people coming from West Africa when I'm trying to give you the numbers. You see how many Indians they enslaved, right? Millions. See how many Indians they enslaved, and then you got all these other Europeans. The numbers start really adding up. The numbers really start adding up. There's a true story. This is what I'm trying to tell you. There's a true story. The numbers really start adding up. We got the receipts. We got the sources for days in the last 8 years. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, make sure to subscribe, like, share the video. All right, we're just trying to talk and vlog a little bit, but at the same time, keep learning. By trying to be human sometimes, not just reading. Trying to be human with you, and maybe you got a logic behind somewhere in a rationalization part of you, like, you know, apart from the emotional part of you. If this information hurts you, right? What I'm saying hurts you, it's okay. Truth hurts. Digest it, process it. It's only gonna make you stronger, man. You're gonna just elevate. Once you keep learning, you just keep elevating, you know? Wisdom, right? True wisdom, the fear of the Most High. What do you mean, Kurimeo? How you gonna go from that to that? When you elevate in the knowledge, you get closer to the Great Spirit, man. Knowing thyself is getting closer to the Great Spirit. Knowing thyself, all right? I'm getting too metaphorical here, deep. It's memory DNA. That's exactly what it is, because we're not learning, we're more like remembering. We're not learning, we're more like remembering. We're remembering. It's in us. We're waking up, activating, elevating. That's what I'm saying. When you elevate, you know what I'm saying? Consciousness, spirit, and the physical, in the matrix, emotionally. That's the hardest part for most people, the emotional part. It's okay. Go cry in a corner. Go. It's okay. Like, I thought I was African. Oh, I thought all Europeans were white. You know, it's okay. Go cry in a corner. Let it all out. Let it all out. Like, it's a spiritual thing. You know, when truth smacks you in the face. When truth smacks you in the face, it's a spiritual thing. You know. You know, I like talking like this sometimes for you guys, you know. Anyways, I wish I had somebody talking back, though, sometimes. Let me know if you guys want to volunteer for a couple chats. You know, you want to go live and just chat about stuff, let me know, all right? But contact me the right way, not here on the live chat, you know. Cosplaying as colored, hold on. Next 100, cosplaying as colored. When you're cosplaying as nothing, I'm reading books. I ain't even say nothing about me at all this whole time, bro. Or whoever you are. You got a lot of hate in your heart, because I'm over here trying to give some positive advice, and you come with the hate. So that's more like a demon tactics. So what we do in a day like today, when we're being positive, what we do is we just block. So nobody's trying to be colored, right? Nobody's trying to be colored, all right? I am who I am, you know? Hey ya, I am, hey ya, you know? Hey ya, I am, man. I am who I am, man. All right, so, hold on, guys. Let me block this guy. Nah, don't time him out. Just block him. Let me just block him. Because maybe he'll change one day. He might create another account and troll. He might change and create another account and say, hey, man, my fault, man. My fault. I didn't really know you. I thought you were, you know. Because I have thousands of testimonies like that already over the years of people who did the same thing. And then eventually real recognize real, you know. So, yeah. They're gonna hate. They're gonna hate big time. They mad at breakfast? Wait, they mad at the Bristol Registers? You mad at the Bristol Registers? I don't even understand that. Why you mad at the Bristol Registers? I don't get it. Like, you mad because they rounded up little kids, so-called black European little kids, and threw them over here in the plantations? Now they're being called Negro, and now they've been paper genocide. They've been reclassified. They mix in with the Indian children that being kidnapped too. Your other ancestors. And there's a deep story to know about your whole family. Personal identifying stories, you know. in your own genealogy. So they're grabbing all these people. Nevertheless, forcible shipment of servants, indentured or not, continued apace. Even though they like, let's keep a track of it. That the point wasn't to stop it. The point wasn't to stop it. The point was to record it at least. Nevertheless, it kept going. An order of Parliament of the 9th of May, 1645, required officers and justices to exercise diligence in apprehending those responsible for kidnapping. All right, so it goes on to that. Okay, so what I want to read real quick, let me see. Of the total of just over 10,000 immigrants recorded in this book, again, this is just from the years 1654, 1686, okay? And this is from a specific place, Bristol. Not the only place they're exporting Europeans from, guys. Lisbon, Liverpool, like all these places are slave ports, literally slave ports. The real slave ports that they don't want you to think of them as slave ports. This is Seville, Lisbon, all these places were slave ports. All right? And places in Germany, places in Ireland, these are slave ports. I'm trying to tell you, right? So just over the 10,000 immigrants recorded in this book, all but a small handful were laborers, husbandmen, or tradesmen, most from the West Country, the West Midlands, and Wales, but with a fair sprinkling of intended immigrants from much further afield, including London, Cambridge, Lancashire, Scotland, Ireland, France. So it's not just English people. And even from the American colonies themselves. Even people from the American colonies. Because if they were European, they would just say Europeans, right? They would include them in they talk about Indians. Indians who have already been enslaved, brought to Europe, which we already got all the drop on the American slave trade, right? American Indian slave trade, right? We got all the drop. And by 1650s, you got them coming back, being sent back as indentures. That's messed up. Still under that status. Or maybe they're like, I indenture myself to go back. And they got a plan. Because remember, an indenture is a contract. You got 4 to 7 years in general. But if you mess up and you do the wrong contract, you might get 20. You got to give 20 years of service, 15 years of service. Your kids might have to do 20. This is what I'm trying to explain to you guys. This is how we get all these, oh, he freed his slave, or he got paid, or he bought his own slavery. It's freedom dues, guys. It's called freedom dues from the contract. Freedom dues. All right. So, from all over the place, right? So even American Indians coming back as indentures. Listen to what they're saying here. That's deep, man. While many undoubtedly arrived in Bristol having already indentured themselves to overseas service, there is good reason to suppose that a great number came there speculatively in order to seek a considerate master to sign them up on the spot. Hey, I need a master. I'm ready to be a slave. See, when we understand true way of American slavery, you guys trust me. We've gone over it. Yeah, I need a master right now. We get some idea of what terms a good indenture provided from certain of the earliest entries in the registers. A 5 or 7 year agreement would typically promise the servant at the end of his or her service a house, an axe. Listen, after his contract is done, pay attention. After his slavery, working for free for 7 years, you can end up with an evil master. You can end up with a good one. He might treat you good. He might have you inside. He might treat you like an apprentice, or you can end up with a bad owner, master, farm owner, and he might be evil, and he might be evil. Not everybody. And he might treat you like a property. He might treat you bad. He might whip you. You might not like working in his farm because it's harsh work. He makes you work all bunch of hours of the day. Okay, not all so-called owners who were of all colors, including so-called black slave owners, right, were evil. Some of them treated their workers or indentured servants like their workers. Some of them were family. A lot of their indentured servants were family working the same farm. So the whole concept we have of slavery is, we generalize. We got Hollywood movies. We got fake books like, Roots, influencing how we are supposed to perceive this time, these periods, the servitude, the history of servitude in America, which is very complex, and we have gone over that. Okay. Where were we? So they might indenture themselves, or they might be brought out by force and put on an indenture, at least. Hey, hey, I know I kidnapped you, but you might get freed in 7 years if you do your contract, and you might get, like it says here. And this specific register, for these people, they were promised a house. Maybe that house comes with a property, a farm, right? So you're the owner, right? An axe, a year's provisions, and double apparel, and sometimes a few acres of land, like I just said. Guys, see, I had already read this, and I forgot this was in here. So literally, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Oh, he got his freedom. He bought his freedom, and then he had his farm. I don't know how he got his farm, but he had a farm. I'm trying to tell you something here. And again, Indians were put under indentures too. A lot of the enslaved Indians were put under 4 to 7 years. But in general, they treated the Indians worse, and they gave, like, especially the children, 20, 30 years until they were like 20, 30. That's why you got these people being freed as adults and stuff. It's messed up. It's really messed up. But if you're lucky enough to get a good indenture, a good contract of servitude, you're providing your services, not your body. The thing is, some slave owners were bad, and they would do the opposite and treat and grab your body and forget about it was just supposed to be services, not me as a sex slave, not me as literally a machine, so that's just evil people. That's what I'm trying to tell. That's why people ran away from certain people, and others didn't run away from other people. It's complicated, man. And again, remembering that a lot of the black folks were just farm owners. That's how you got your workers, through indenture. A lot of the indentures were family. A lot of the people from the neighborhood, they use indenture or whatever. Anyways, so they got things after their contract was over, right? But it should not be assumed that all servants receive such generous treatment. That's true, based on the contract you made. Nor indeed that all went voluntarily on shipboard. From surviving notes, it is clear that errant children could be packed off to the colonies by their parents or guardians, and there is further evidence that passengers could be forcibly detained on board ship. The amount of detail recorded against each name in the register varied. At the beginning, it was plainly the intention to identify the place of origin of each servant, but the practice probably became tiresome as the numbers grew, and okay? So it starts explaining what they got. And I'm going to show you guys some examples, but I just want to read this part, this last paragraph right here, guys. Look, you see this paragraph? I just want to read this last part right here, because this tells me they were hiding this. You're going to see they were hiding this. They tried to hide this from history. Pay attention to what I'm about to read right now. This is them literally admitting. It says, the story of how the registers were discovered after 200 years and dusty obscurity is one beloved of archivists. It's like a crazy story. I'm trying to tell you. It's so crazy, has to have been done on purpose. It's not an accident. When in 1925, the Corporation of Bristol decided to rebuild the ancient council house, the storerooms on the top floor were cleared of a mass of old records, and behind an ancient wall press, listen, behind an ancient wall. Ancient wall. So how is it ancient? But there's these books from the 60s. Behind an ancient wall press were found the 2 volumes called Servants to Foreign Plantations. It was behind a wall, guys. They had hid this stuff. It doesn't fit out of Africa's slave narratives. You gotta shorten the numbers. All these Europeans that were sent, you gotta shorten the numbers of the American, and you can't even talk about it. Oh, these Negroes came, they all came from Africa, right? That's just the general, they all came from, these so-called blacks came, all blacks came from Africa. They hid this, guys. They hid this on purpose behind a wall. 200 years later, they found that wall. This is the story, right? This is the story. In this book, scholarly, this is official right here. This is official. That's why I bought it. Like, 200 years later, they found it. These provide a unique record of indentured immigrants who shipped from Bristol, then the premier English port for immigration, slave port. Within 4 years of their discovery, Art Hargreaves Medsley published a severely summarized transcription under the title of Bristol and America. And that slim volume has well preserved a whole generation of historians and genealogists. Nevertheless, researchers have long known that the book, despite 4 reprints, contains a large number of faulty transcriptions, omits much material essential to proper comprehension of the subject, and lacks adequate indexes. It is those reasons which have dictated the preparation of the present volume. So, the Bristol Registers, and literally, he goes right into it. 1654, right? 1654. And right away, Richard Pell got enslaved to Robert Reed of Bristol. And he's a cooper, meaning he works for wood. 3 years. He got 3 years in Barbados. He had to be a slave for 3 years in Barbados. Thomas, son of Thomas Reed of Upper Warren, works. He's a yeoman. To William Willett of Bristol, a merchant. So he has to work for Willett of Bristol, a merchant, who's the merchants, for 6 years. Where? In Virginia. In Virginia. Work where? In his plantation. Worked up, picking cotton, tobacco. Don't picture white people and white people either. These might be both colored folks. Guys, Virginia, 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 Virginia. We got all these names. All these people. Look, this is just the first page, and it keeps going by year, by day. If you got these last names, right? John Dux, 4 years in Virginia. Robert Cartwright, 6 years in Virginia. John Jones, 6 years in Virginia. Charles Corbett, 4 years in Virginia. Haywood, 4 years in Virginia. Susanna White, Joan Robinson, all these people in Virginia, right? Mary Giles, John Edward, Morgan Thomas, Richard Combs, like Sean Combs, you know, like the last name Combs, like Sean, like Diddy. So we have a Richard Combs of Staunton, Wilts, to Henry Callender. He was a slave to Henry Callender of Mary for 7 years. For 7 years in Virginia. Could that be the origin of the Combs family? Could that be the origin of the Combs or Diddy? Could that be an ancestor of P. Diddy? A slave from Europe. He came as an indentured servant. The story of many people in their genealogy. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. So, all right, that's just the first page. But guys, it's not just Virginia. So the first couple pages is talking about Virginia, Barbados. David Maxwell from Ireland, 3 years in Barbados. He did time, right? Irish. So we got 1655. Richard Wolfe sent to Barbados 4 years. So a lot of Barbados people ended up in Barbados, right? And Bermuda and all these. So what's significant about Barbados? A lot of the colonists of South Carolina came from Barbados. It's the same people. A lot of these people did their time. You know, like as you guys hearing, a lot of them only got 3 years. A lot of them only got 4 years. So they'll do their time, their slave servitude, and then maybe they'll go to the U.S. from there. They got their freedom. They can do whatever they want, right? So Barbados, right? It's not just Barbados and Virginia, guys. We got Jamaica, Montserrat, we got Nevis, we got everything in here. Let me just belly flop, right? Like Barbados, a lot to Barbados. A whole bunch they were sending to Barbados, guys. A whole bunch. Virginia and other colonies. Hold on. Let me go more back. It starts. Whoa, Nevis. Oh yeah, there we go. Virginia. A lot sent to Virginia. Nevis, the island of Nevis in the Caribbean. A lot. Francis Smith, Nevis, 4 years to Henry Willoughby. John Ford to John Nefway, 4 years in Nevis. You know, things like that. I know I've seen all the countries in here. Jamaica. Wow. It's a lot. A lot of names that I see a lot of people carrying. A lot of names. How do you know these ain't your ancestors carrying the surname? Not that these are your only ancestors. I'm talking about the ones carrying the surnames, right? Over from Europe. Wow. Wow, there's so much in here. Jamaica. Okay, there we go. I just saw Jamaica. Wow. A whole page on Jamaica. 2 page, 3, 4, 5. Wow. Virginia. A lot sent to Nevis, Jamaica. We got Thomas Edwards to Edward Herbert, 4 years in Montserrat. 4 years in Montserrat. David Griffiths to Bartholomew Jefford, 4 years in Antigua. Montserrat or Nevis, one of the three, they don't know. Reese Gwine to same, 4 years in Antigua, Montserrat, or Nevis. And we got Gabriel Joyce to John Shewell in Nevis, and so on. It's William Cotton to William Shutter, 4 years in Jamaica. William Harris to William Martin, 4 years in Jamaica. New England. We got a New England. We got Jamaica, Barbados. We got so many people. Being Montserrat, Antigua. A lot of these people ended up in the Caribbean. Again, this is just one place, one port, and they try to hide this history because this will link to a lot of black folks. I'm trying to be as direct and real as I can be. No sugarcoating. Trying to watch out what I say so people don't get hurt and think whatever you want. I'm telling you that you might be missing out on a lot of history if you think these are all just white people. Okay? I'm trying to tell you. Got a lot of stuff. I think we've read a lot of this. I want to get to parts where we haven't read. Here we go. So he's saying Alexander Dumas. I mean, you can see Alexander Dumas. Look at his hair. It's literally almost woolly, like woolly, literally. Yeah. This book is literally, the whole thing is a list of the names. You might find your ancestors and things like that, you know? So, let me see. I think I read this already. The French were swarthy in northern France. Yeah, I think I read this already. We read this last time. Hold on. This is another secret of the American Revolution. It says Histories de Napoleon M.D. Norvin from 1839. This is an excerpt from there. All right, we're going to get, but he explains, this is another secret of the American Revolution. There are many in the American Revolutionary War. 4,000 free black Frenchmen. Free black French, as we were reading the other day with the black Caribs, literally telling us black French with them. 800 were riflemen who supposedly came from Haiti, fought on the side of the American colonies in its revolt against the English. This all-black Haitian unit fought in the Battle of Savannah, Georgia. Oh yeah, we got this the other day. I'm trying to get, okay, hold on, here we go, chapter 5. What we're reading now, the Negro Question, part 7. Welcome. Swarthy Memoirs of a Black American Revolution. So, again, it is known fact among the so-called scholars that there were only 5,000 inhabitants in Pennsylvania in the year 1723. This number included Germans, Scots, Irish, Welsh, British, and English, Brains, and English. In 1753, 30 years later, there were 40,000 black Swarthy Germans in Pennsylvania. All right, black Germans, along with 30,000 black Swarthy Irishmen. Hey, listen, guys. 40,000 black Germans, 30,000 black Irish. This is why Franklin freaked out. The original colonists were black, and now you have 70,000 black Europeans herding into Pennsylvania. You might think the writer is delusional. You might think Kurimeo's crazy. But before I am through writing this book, the proof will astound you. But if you catch up in the last 8 years, the proof will astound you. If you were shocked by the black French and Haitian omission, you will be horrified by the omission of the black German troops. Let us examine the original draft of the Declaration of Independence in the words of Thomas Jefferson. So this is the original draft, supposedly, right? It says, they, Great Britain, too, have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity, common blood, and when occasions have been given them, by the regular course of their laws, of removing from their councils the disturbers of our harmony, they have by their free election re-established them in power. At this very time, too, they are permitting their chief magistrate to send over not only soldiers of our common blood, but Scotch and foreign mercenaries to invade and deluge us in blood. He's saying, we don't want to mix with the black Europeans. Hey, Sean Woodford, I just did a video recently on Hitler. Go check it out. You're gonna don't. It's not about thinking. You gotta understand. Like I try to not just think and believe. I try to prove things. And if I have a video on it, go check out the sources. What did the sources say? What are the people at the time are saying? Okay, check out the Hitler video I did. Welcome to my channel, man. This was very recent too. Make sure to catch up on all my old videos. That's why I said check out the last 8 years of research we've done. So thank you. Then he's showing some images. Yeah. So now he's showing images in Syria, Dura Europos, which we've shown in my biblical Hebrew videos. The reason he's showing that is because in that colored image, you see these are all colored folks. These are colored people leading the Exodus, Moses, everybody's colored, right? He says the Dura Europos Museum in Syria has original black images of Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Joseph, King David, Ezekiel, Samuel, Isaiah, and the prophets. And it's true. We've seen that. I gotta do an update on that. You guys don't understand. Like this, people don't, right? So I gotta do an update on all these things. These images have been carbon dated, to be over 2,300 years old. You will be horrified to know that this museum or synagogue is currently being destroyed by rebels. I have used the images from this museum synagogue in the Negro Question Part 5. Joseph and the 12th dynasty of Egypt. For Joseph, they're depicting somebody from the Americas, right? What do we know about Joseph and connection to the Americas and ancient Egypt and the Grand Canyon and everything else here, right? Corn, the prophecies, right? Everything. Benjamin Franklin continued. It says from 1751, the Germans, French, Italians, Russians, Swedes, America, Africa, and Asia are swarthy or black. Okay? Literally. Quoting Benjamin Franklin, which we've seen the source, saying that white people in the world are very small, very proportionally small, and that the whole world is swarthy. So he's just quoting that, right? So the Hessians, the Germans were black from ancient times. When I first read this statement from Benjamin Franklin, I gloated over the blackness of the European nations, but it was not until I began to write this book that the magnitude of this great lie finally set in. I hope it's setting in for a lot of you too. What lie am I referring to? We have been mentally steered toward the continent of Africa. By this statement, all blacks come from Africa, right? The out of Africa theories. This statement makes it virtually impossible for the black Hebrew elders to accept the fact that blacks were situated worldwide. Well, he has a thing with the Hebrew elders at his time when he wrote this, right? Like, I know who he's talking about, but because they Pan-Africans. The Hebrew Israelite camps are all Pan-Africans, guys. Sorry. Anyways, they still Pan-Africans. Anyways, so he's making a point here, like I was saying earlier, about how we associate. Even AI is still trying to, he's programmed to associate. If I'm finding a black European, he thinks I'm talking about an African. Or white folks who are very racist or ignorant or whatever, hateful or whatever's matter with them, right? They say, oh, he's proven to be from Europe, no ancestry to Africa. I'm like, okay, but when did I say he's African? During the whole video, when did I ever say anything about being African? Nobody's talking about Africans. So that's what he's trying to say here too. Shout out to Lee Cummins. Again, they were worldwide. These old-timers in Israel teach that blacks went into Egypt on ships. They teach that the Israel would be scattered to every nation of the sun, but it appears that they don't believe their own report. Scattered means scattered. That would include Europe. That would include the Americas, right? Scattered is everywhere. Not just Africa or Egypt or Nubia, right? The brothers and sisters who have put the work in and have found out the secret of the Gentiles, there are many secrets, are eyewitness to the truth. But the old-timers refuse to believe their report. How can this be? We believed their report and they had less data to work with. This is not good. It is written in the scriptures, the Gentiles will tell God that our fathers inherited lies. If that is the case, and it is, why do the elders continue to teach from the Gentile history books? Who's the elders? You're still quoting Van Sertima, Dr. Clark, and all these other people. You're still quoting them. You're still, I got mad respect for, okay, cool. That's respect for what they did at the time. We give them the benefit of the doubt that they weren't gatekeepers and they didn't know their own ancestry. Okay, with that Pan-African stuff. Anyways, that's who he's talking about, with these elders. Every man is taught of his father and mother. This was true in ancient times. This is true in our generation. If the Gentile's father taught false memories to his son, what do you think his son is teaching to our sons and daughters? He is teaching our children the same false memories that he learned from his father. These same false memories are then recorded in history books and sent into the world. We have elders in Israel proudly quoting false memories from the Gentile history books every Sabbath day. This is not good. So these guys, you got black, German, Charles Bickenfield, Weisbuchen. Yeah. Not only did black German Hessians send over 16,000 black troops to invade the 13 colonies as mercenaries, they also sent black German officers. Over 30,000 black German Hessian troops fought on the side of the British during the American Revolution. Okay? You gotta have context, guys. Pay attention. This is deep. This is why okay, let's pause a little bit. Let's talk about that. We got people fighting on both sides of the war with the so-called Britain or the American colonists, right? The two sides. On both sides, leaders are black. On both sides, the soldiers, they have black. The both sides, has every type of status of person, fighting for each other. Even mercenaries fighting on their side. So the American colonists had mercenaries too. It wasn't just the British. American colonists had mercenaries too fighting on their side, who might have been black Europeans as well. So context, make you think on a wider thing here. We're talking about people who in history have been told, have been falsely described to us as freed, probably freed slaves who wanted to fight or fight for their freedom, their slavery, and join the army and join the English, or were forced because they were slaves to join the English or join the American colonists to fight. That's all lies. We got the book. I should have brought the other book too, that lists the Virginia colonial soldiers, right? The Revolutionary War. 90%, probably more, probably 98, 97% of people who were listed with complexion were black from Europe and from the colonies. Okay? So, we got all these black folks fighting on both sides, all different status, different ranks, okay? Now, the American colonists won, right? Supposedly, right? Supposedly. They won. I guess they won. Yeah. And then I know what history says. I'm just being sarcastic. But anyways, because these are created wars. This is all like, it's all funded. These wars are funded. Both sides are. It's all controlled. It's all in history. That's the same thing in history. We don't learn from it, so we're gonna keep repeating it. Still happening today. We keep repeating it. We're not learning. Anyways, so the British now they lost. And now all these black loyalists. Right? What's a black loyalist? What is a loyalist? What is a loyalist? People who were on the side of Britain during the Revolutionary War, or on the side of the Europeans, or the British Crown, right? They were the loyalists. And so in history, there's many known so-called black loyalists. There's too many they couldn't hide. They couldn't hide all these black loyalists. So it's conjecture to say these were all just slaves from Africa, or ex-freed slaves, or African descendants. It's conjecture, right? It's conjecture to say, oh, they all left to Canada, or they ended up being slaves again, or whatever, wherever you think, you know. These are all conjectures. So we got a little backstory, like we understand, like this is what I was trying to explain. We got 30,000 black German Hessian troops fighting on the British side. Now they are, wouldn't they be considered black loyalists? Right? Black loyalists, right? So many of them stayed behind. Many of them went to Canada, Acadia. There's a whole story we're going to do about the black loyalists there. And their connection to even the Maroons of the islands. It's crazy, guys. Like, how it connects. A lot of these people connect. Right? Why are these people being rebellious? We're talking about real soldiers, mercenaries, people who are used to fighting. Why would people be so willing to escape, fight, you know? Yeah. There's a whole history, like Jacobites or people like that who escape as well. They're being sent to the islands under the Catholic. No, they are the Catholics, under the Protestants, Oliver Cromwell. So a shift in power in Europe. Sometimes the Catholics had rule, and sometimes the Protestant empire had rule. It was a Protestant and cryptos, and you know, you guys already know. So when the Protestants turned to rule, they will get rid of the Catholics, which included the Jacobites. They were considered Catholics, right? Don't think all the Catholics were just white. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We know the Habsburg family. We know the Holy Roman Empire. We know Charles V was a black man. We know the Habsburg. We know the Vatican coat of arms has a Negro head on it. Like, that's not their slave. You can't tell me that's the slave. That's what I'm telling AI. You can't tell me that. Prove that to me, AI. Oh, well, I can. There is no proof. This is all allegorical. It's all conjecture. I'm like, okay. So why are we even talking about it? Why are we talking about conjectural history? Come to find out, all of history has been conjectural history or theories. Right? So we got 30,000, and we know. So now what I'm trying to say is, some of those black loyalists are your black Europeans, guys, literally, not just black Indians. Because a lot of you, one of my ancestors, he was a black loyalist. He ended up American Indian, most likely. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Maybe. How do you know though? Like, he could be one of the 30,000 black Hessian troops, or one of the what was the other number of the Irish, the black Irish troops? He could be many things. He could be many things. You gotta know for a fact. You can't just conjecture. I'm trying to help. Let's not be like them. Let's not be like how they taught us history. Let's get to the details, and if you don't know, you don't know. Just say, I don't know. It's okay not to know. I don't know. I don't know if he's an Indian. I don't know. But I know the history, the migration where he was. He was associated with his people. He looked like this. He had long hair. He told me his grandmother, his people were Choctaw. Okay, that's a whole different thing now. You got leads, right? You got leads. That's a whole different thing. You know, but if you don't know, you don't know, and that's okay. That's why you find out. Not knowing makes you want to actually find out. That makes you not be lazy and be like, all right, I'm just an Indian or whatever. I don't know what type. I think I'm just Cherokee and Blackfoot. That's where everybody is, right? Cherokee or Blackfoot, right? But you might be more, a lot more than that, you know? You might be a lot more than that. All right, so. Paradox. Black Germans fought under the French flag, and then were forced to fight against the black German mercenaries that the English had hired. Think about it. That's what I'm saying. Have some context, guys. Black on more and more war. Black on black. This will prove to be a black on black affair. Shout out to Drop. More and more war, yo. And all levels. And all levels. And all... How do you say that? And all types of castes. And all nationalities. And all circumstances. More and more war. All right? Black on black. Melanated people, melanated people. Black Hessian soldier right there. And again, the musicians. What do we learn about Beethoven? What are we really gonna be proven? As I told you in my Beethoven video, is that all these people around him, all these famous composers, literally, we're finding out, and a lot of them admittedly had Negro blood. Who was the, remember my Ancient and Modern Britons reading, right, of that book, Ancient and Modern Britons, both volumes. We read literally volume 1 completely, literally. And in that volume, who was the performers? Who was the musicians? Who was the minstrels? Who was the jugglers? Remember, they were calling the Picts, Gypsies, Moors, Scotch, Egypto, Skips, black folks. Black folks. They were known for that, right? So that didn't change. That didn't change, right? Now you come into classical times, and now you got people like Beethoven creating this crazy sound. Nothing has changed, man. We're still doing it. It's in there. It's in the blood. Anyways, you gotta understand that, right? You gotta understand that. We're Swarty. Joseph, Franz, Haydn, Ludwig, Beethoven. Yep, all Swarty. Yep. Yep. How long we been here? Oh, an hour and a half. Okay. An hour and a half. Hope you guys enjoying it, but that's what I wanted to ask. I just kind of want to clear up about black Europeans. You know, that's the whole point. I went live because we're going to continue to show you sources. We're going to continue to show you sources, and I want you to understand that that doesn't always necessarily mean that we're talking about Africans. The earliest Europeans were so-called black. A lot of the hundreds of thousands of important, elite, royal, historical people of Europe have been whitewashed, guys. It's not just a couple here and there, and it's not. We're not saying, oh, King Louis the 14th, and his wife Marie Therese had a black baby all of a sudden, meaning they were white and they all of a sudden had a black baby, right? So these narratives are foolish, right? No, what we're showing you is that the parents were black. They come from black families. That's why they had a black son. That's why King Charles II came out black. And his mom said, "Man, you black." So it was like, we got the sources. Have you guys all seen it? Whoever, anybody in the crowd doubt what I'm saying and can come respectfully and just like, if you have a question, right? Like, because if not, we're gonna cut up the live, right? Because I gotta really do the recordings for the video. But you know, guys, when I'm trying to take my time a little bit more, not just upload every day, because it gets to the point where we lose context, we lose the feeling, right? The whole feeling of investigating, taking our time, getting the right sources. So I didn't upload yesterday. I was like researching all day. I ended up doing so much. I working on my book. Gotta leave time to work on my book. I'm trying to get these books out, you know. So I'll probably be back later with the recordings of the Black European, or maybe even live. It's because when I go live on the YouTube studio and you know, on the website, on the browser, and I'm on my house, you know, they cut me off, man. Like you guys saw earlier, I got cut off. I couldn't walk around. So if I stay in one spot, I guess, you know, I got a modem right behind me. There's a modem right for this area, so that's why we haven't cut off. But if not, I just pre-record it. Most likely, more on Black Europeans. You're gonna show who else has been whitewashed. You know, just keep putting it out there until people understand. It's not just one or two, and so you can understand the people's status. Who these people is important people. Something definitely wrong, because when you look at the images of these people, it's showing the contradictory images of what is being said about them, how they look, how they are described. Very dark skin, very dark brown, dark like swarthy. He was so swarthy, he was called the Moor. And then when you look at the images, you see these pale skin, cartoon-like, Beavis and Butthead-like drawings. Okay? Not like when you look at the portrait of Charles V, or a lot of these Black European portraits, literally you can see that's a real person. That's not all Saint Maurice. They try to say all these different looking people, of royal paintings of people in Europe, are all Saint Maurice. That's literally what they try to tell us, guys. Like, we've been dumbed down so much, we've been blinded so much, that we believe anything they say. We just take, oh, that's Saint Maurice. What about this one from Sweden? It don't look nothing like the last one. Oh, that's Saint Maurice too. What about this one from Germany? Totally different time period, totally different era. Oh, that's Saint Maurice too. Everybody's Saint Maurice, huh? Or everybody's Saint Nicholas, or everybody's whoever, the Moor. What Moor? Not all Black Europeans were Moors, all right? And that's the other thing for you guys to understand. We're not just talking about Moors. Like, you guys gotta understand that part big time. There's a big, you guys study the etymology and definition and origin of Moors and who that really was applied to in history, and how that did become associated to complexion, but it has like 30 other different definitions. Moor has 30, like many different definitions, guys. So it's like, yeah, in general, they might call a Black European a Moor. That's the person's perspective, but that doesn't mean, oh man, why are you attacking me? That doesn't mean that he's actually Moor. You know, he might just be a Black Irish from the Highlands. He might be from the clans of the Highlands of Scotland, from the Chatan clan, you know. It has nothing to do with being a Moor, like how you picture a Moor. So, stop generalizing. Try to not generalize, right, guys? Try to go person to person, case by case. You know? So, oh, I hope hey, you're welcome. Thanks for the clarity. Hey, I hope out of all the talking I did, it helped somebody, because I'm trying to like, because I know I'm just showing sources sometimes and reading, and I'm like, okay, but I have questions, and if you have questions, you gotta ask them, you know, like, It's good. It's so good. It's okay to have questions, but some people are debating. They're questioning. They're questioning me on purpose, sarcastically, and they don't want a real answer. We give them the real answer. They come back with a more sarcastic question. So it's okay to ask questions, but we know who's being real and who's being hijacked right away. Like I know, guys, trust me. The way a certain thing is asked, the way a certain thing is said. Okay, you know. But yeah, hopefully it clarified a lot of you. And thanks for tuning in on your middle of your day. Just wanted to talk about that a little bit because people do ask me about slavery a lot and the Europeans, and hope you guys understood that part. All Europeans ain't just colonists. A lot of them came as slaves, straight slaves, guys. Chattel, straight slaves, kidnapped, brought over here by force, died. A lot of them died on the Middle Passage, real Middle Passage. Just like the Indians had a Middle Passage going to Europe and Africa and everywhere else, even from South America to North America or vice versa, or the Caribbean to. They're still going on the ship. They're still getting sick. A lot of them getting thrown overboard, dying. All this happened. There's a real history of all this. But when you say it only happened to specific people that it didn't happen to, that's the worst part about it. You're not acknowledging the right people. You're not remembering, and a lot of these Afrocentric people are so like, oh, we gotta remember what happened. We gotta get this. So, but when I'm telling you to remember what happened to Black Europeans, Middle Passage, American Indians, Middle Passage, nobody wants to talk about that or remember that. It's not the same. Kurimeo is not the same. What's not the same? It's exactly the same. It's described here. Kidnapped, like you said, they were kidnapping Africans. Oh yeah, they were kidnapping Europeans. Oh yeah, they were kidnapping Indians. Millions of them. Millions of them. Sent to plantations, reclassified, murdered, colonized. Their lands taken. Their people, identity taken, stolen, forgotten. All right? Yeah, we out, man. I think I was pretty clear with certain things. I know a lot of people are going to still talk or not even probably watch the video. They probably won't even watch the video, but hopefully they do to the end. And like I said, like Homeboy came in talking about you're not even colored, and never this whole time I'm not even talking about like my personal history. Like I don't worry about me. I know my personal history. Worry about yours. I'm just trying to help with certain history facts here, all right, and get so we can get out of the conjectures and personal beliefs and stereotypes and prejudices and make it a better world. You know, make it a better world. We gotta learn. If not, we're gonna repeat history. We don't learn from history. We're gonna repeat history, guys. Come on, wake up. I'm out. Pura vida, mi gente. Much love.